We continue to follow breaking news here on CBS Sports HQ. The city of New York lifting its vaccine mandates in the private sector that had been in place for performers and athletes in local venues. The reversal will allow unvaccinated New York Yankees and New York Mets players to play in home games. As part of the new collective bargaining agreement, the league as well as the Players Association agreed players who are unable to play due to vaccine mandates can be placed on the restricted list and they will not be paid or accrue service time. Our front office insider Jim Bowden patiently waiting and listening to Mayor Eric Adams. And by the way, I want to correct myself with Sandy Alderson, president of the team for the Mets, Billy Epler, the GM there. So Jim, how does this land from a baseball perspective with both the Mets and the Yankees with the news today?
Well, first of all, it shows you the power of Major League Baseball, and more importantly, the power of the New York Yankees and the New York Mets, because it's those two organizations that got Mayor Eric Adams to change this executive mandate. It was interesting, and when you listen to the press conference, the mayor clearly referenced the $11 million of revenue the city of New York gets if there's a postseason in October in New York City. Now, both Sandy Alderson and the president of the Yankees, Randy Levine, made it very clear to the mayor that both teams have a chance to get to the postseason, but both teams are in tough divisions, and they don't want to lose a game or two in April because they can't play their best players because of the mandate. And he wanted to make sure that the mayor understood the economic impact that could have on the city of New York. That's why the mayor referenced that $11 million in income. Look, this mandate never made sense. It never made sense that a visiting team could come into New York, you could be unvaccinated and play, but if you're a home team player and a resident there in New York, you couldn't play. That's just not a fair law and really doesn't make sense when you consider all the ramifications of COVID-19. Look, I think it's been really unfair what Kyrie Irving and the Brooklyn Nets had to do, but look where the press conference was. It wasn't at Barclays Center. It was at Citi Field, and it was at Citi Field for a reason, because it was the baseball teams that did a really good job of convincing the mayor to correct the mandate that didn't make any sense. So it's good news for both teams. And Tommy Tran, when you look at it from a competitive perspective, I'm told there's at least 10 New York Mets players that are not vaccinated. And I know there were 2 impact middle-of-the-order bats, including Aaron Judge of the Yankees, that were also unvaccinated. So the possibility of those players having to sit if they didn't change the mandate here would have been a huge problem for both of these teams to start the season. So for both the Yankees and Mets, they can sleep a little better tonight.
That was the city mandate affecting those teams. From a macro perspective, we're just coming off from labor negotiations, the lockout. We're looking forward to opening day, Jim. But what I just referenced in terms of the players right there, time accrual and all that stuff, how contentious was that? What was the latest there, if you can remind us quickly here?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think there's any question baseball couldn't withstand another hiccup here. And the fact that there was the threat of some of these players not being able to play, I think there was a Yankee or two that was willing to get vaccinated if they didn't change the rule. I know there are some New York Mets that didn't want to get vaccinated. So both organizations were working extremely hard because, you know, baseball's fought hard to overcome this tremendous labor dispute that they had. They now have labor peace for the next 5 years. They didn't want to start the year with an uneven playing field, which this mandate would have done. It would have put the Mets and the Yankees in a significant disadvantage. So fortunately, Mayor Eric Adams did the right thing today in changing the executive mandate.
Jim, before I let you go, what about the Toronto Blue Jays? They're back home for the first time since 2019. They're not in Buffalo. They're not in Florida. What about the Blue Jays aspect here?
Yeah, that's still a problem, Tommy Tran. So if you're unvaccinated, they are not going to let you come into Canada and not going to let you play. So if Aaron Judge, as an example of the Yankees, decides not to be vaccinated, then he will not be eligible to play games in Toronto. He would then be placed on the restricted list, and the Yankees would be able to replace him with a player that has been vaccinated. We don't hear that law is going to change between now and the start of the regular season. So again, teams that are planning on playing the Blue Jays in Toronto, if they are unvaccinated, they will not be allowed to play.
And as of today, the Blue Jays are the betting favorite to win the division at Caesars Sportsbook. Our thanks to Jim Bowden, a front office insider, with the very latest here on CBS Sports HQ. Want to remind you about Nothing Personal with David Sampson. David has been talking about this at length, part of his podcast. He's been right on it in terms of everything that has been going on with these negotiations, lockout and opening day. Make sure you download and subscribe and follow his pod.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.